Rowan Hill is an American-Australian horror author currently living in America. She loves mashing genres, flawed women who occasionally murder, and a plot twist within plot twists. She has many short story credits, a novella, and a novel, and her debut collection, No Fair Maidens, From Earth to Mars, will be released with Journal Stone/Trepidatio Press in July 2024. Rowan, take it away.
Hi, thank you, Eileen. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Rowan. My collection comes out in 4 weeks now. No Fair Maidens from Earth to Mars. But today I'm going to be reading from Foxfire, which is my first novel, and I sold it as a Agatha Christie times Quentin Tarantino. Kind of everything happens in one night. I'll just start off. I really kind of struggled to think of where I should start reading, and I'm just going to put you in the middle where we have two current survivors trying to make their escape by harnessing the reindeer. And all of this is very true. I went to this place. I experienced not the murdery sides of these things, but how to harness reindeer and whatnot. So we are with Matthias and Carly, an older gentleman and an older Finnish gentleman who's trying to run a resort, and Carly, a young Australian woman who grew up in the bush. Matthias crouched, reaching under for the hanging strap, and the reindeer's smooth belly rose and fell and only slightly flinched as Matthias pulled the sled bars beside his haunches and strapped him in. Carly crooned softly to the older Levi, stroking his neck as he pressed close to him, stuck between the two. Matthias exhaled shakily, listening to her kind tones, hearing familiar tenderness in them and the ones his father often used. He pushed the words out. Carly continued caressing the bull, but gave Matthias her attention. If I don't make it, please help Ino. She never wanted to be here. She was only helping out an old man. Please get her out. Carly's hand paused on the reindeer's neck, and she smirked, an odd gesture on a cold, dark bridge. Well, how do you know I'm not the one killing everybody? He stared pointedly at her hand stroking the deer. He didn't want to mention any of his thoughts about what was doing this, but clearly someone who calmed a reindeer with soothing words most likely wouldn't kill anybody. She looked to her own hand and caught his meaning and scratched the fur. All right, old-timer, I'll do my best. Save your daughter, no worries. He nodded, inexplicably relieved, and cinched the last buckle across Toivoy's low chest, affectionately rubbing its neck, when the reindeer's head flinched, startled by something. Rising to crouch, Matthias peeked over the reindeer's back, viewing nothing but the white snow of the driveway leading through the forest to the main road. But then the very snow moved, right before his eyes, white on white, shifting, and a strange whip scored the air. An arrow abruptly appeared in Toivoy's hide flank, and the animal brayed, immediately bolting. Its chest knocked Matthias to the ground, and the connected sleigh ran over his whole body as the panicked reindeer tore away and back to the house with the frantic jingle of a bell. Less than a second later, a blink, another whip sailed through over the bridge, and the second reindeer cried a painful belt, outmatched by Carly's raw scream. From the ground where he lay, Matthias rolled with a broken leg and witnessed an arrow piercing through the back of Carly's shoulder and into the reindeer she had been hugging. The arrow's feathers were near to her coat, meaning the arrowhead punched deep into the reindeer's neck, and the two were locked, prisoners of the same shaft. Levi, the reindeer, attempted rearing on his hind legs, but Carly and her new unfamiliar weight toppled him sidewards. The wood railing cracked beneath them and all at once broke with a snap. The reindeer fell over the side of the bridge, Carly dragged with him by the arrow piercing them both. They toppled into the river and out of Matthias's sight, and Carly's shriek was replaced with the snapping ice and the muffled splash of hungry Arctic water devouring them. On elbows and knees, he scrambled to the bridge's edge, only to find a large black hole in the middle of a narrow strip where the two had dropped into the river, pulled under the ice flowing to the sacred lake. Matthias exhaled. It had all happened in 5 seconds, no more. He inhaled, and a fierce driving pain in his chest made him roll to his back. Something inside his old body was also impaled. He could feel it, as sure as he could feel he was at fault for all of this, an innate knowledge. He stared overhead, rivers of green light coursing through the sky, mirroring the black one below. And in his lower periphery, the snow ran to him. Plop, 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 plop. A white figure rushed to the remaining railing, examining below, and then smacked its hands on the wood in a very human-like manner. "You're not my Haldhaji," he murmured. He was benumbed. He was beyond cold. Matthias was once indifferent to the cold. He grew up in the north that made Vikings hard. He might have been a failure as a husband and man, always scrambling for money, a living, always thinking up the next scheme, but his body should have been immune to the cold. This cold was different. It was final. He couldn't hold his head up anymore and let it fall to the soft snow. The Revontule swelled in pulses, like new water after years of drought, water slowly and surely creating a new course. Strong hands tugged his shoulders, yanking his whole body up until his head partially hung off the side of the bridge, and something sharp stabbed the soft, fatty folds of his neck. It was a blade of fire digging inside him. More agony erupted, and hot blood trickled off the back of his nape. He tried to scream, but those muscles didn't work anymore and remained slack. A hand, ungloved, clawed his scalp and lifted it to meet his eyes. It was Lempo. Angry, vengeful god of the wilderness stared at him. Those eyes were feral and wild and cursed and reminded him of all the bad things he had done in his life. Not terrible, but not right. Did anyone try to be terrible in their short lives? Blood left his body, life falling into the pitch water beneath, and something stirred in his memory as the cold seeped up from his booted toes. A story of his father's in the lake. His father had taken his final sleep in the lake. Cold crawled up his legs with icicles for fingers. There was something about a sacrifice in his family and their blood and his blood. The devastating chill curled his gut and dinner solid, a hefty weight sitting in his body like a large stone. A story of the lake and the forest and his family and their duty and their protection and their custodianship over sacred land that should never be taken or stolen or used ill. His chest with its broken organ slowed, and Matthias stared dreamily up at the Revontule, the foxfire, a flare of red unexpectedly surging through the green. He was dreaming. Matthias no longer felt his legs or body, but had the distinct sensation of vertigo as Lempo lifted his 2 heavy feet and he fell through the frigid air to frozen water. Choking the terrible numbing water, he was surprised to discover his body nearly devoid of light, floated. Ushered down the fast-moving river, ice cut his body, though he didn't notice much, transfixed by celestial light. The water rumbled, the riverbed churned, and sound and movement shuddered everything everywhere all at once, and Matthias could only lax into numbness. Above, emerald, lush, and wild clashed with primal vermilion. The colors enameled the sky in broad strokes, guiding his way. They showed him the path, and faces took shape within the Revontule. Beautiful, terrible faces, horrific, familiar faces, bears, wolverines, foxes, reindeer, wolves, lynx, seals, figures of lore, ancient, terrible deities floating in the sky in the gateway to heaven or hell, waiting to take him into the dark memories of his lineage. Finn.